All right. Now, what if you spotted a gap on the map and then decided to fill it with your own country? Well, that is exactly what a young Australian man has done. Daniel Jackson is just 21 years old, but he says that he's a president of his own self-declared micronation in Europe, the Free Republic of Verdis. It's a half-square kilometer patch of disputed land that is between Croatia and Serbia, just along the Danube River. And at just 14 years old, Jackson and a group of friends found this tiny strip of forest that neither Croatia nor Serbia officially claims. And now, under a corner of international law, land that is truly considered terra nullius, or nobody's land, can, in theory, be claimed. So they planted a flag, and today, Verdis issues passports. It has over 400 registered citizens, and it even collects residency fees. But not everybody is happy about this. Croatian authorities have blocked access to the territory, and no country actually recognizes Verdis as a state. Well, today, Jackson says that he's living in the United Kingdom as a president in exile, and he's joining us now to break down what happens next for this micronation. So, Daniel, this is really just fascinating. There are hundreds of micronations around the world. You were just 14 when you first claimed this land. What made you actually want to do this?
Well, thank you for having me. When it comes to Verdis's background, it was more of an idea when I was younger. I was about 14 years old and I was living in Australia at the time. And I had taken some inspiration from another entity up north known as Liberland, but I didn't exactly share the same views. So a group of friends and I came up with the idea of Verdis. And the idea, it died down for a little bit of a while. But back in 2023, a group of people and I, who I was doing humanitarian work with in Ukraine, we came back with the idea of Verdis, and we decided to properly restart it. And we assigned a government, we started a settlement, we provided aid under Verdis's name, and we continued on from there.
What are the goals of this micronation? Why establish it? I understand that one of the hopes that you guys had was to serve as a mediator in international conflict. How would you actually go about and do that?
Of course. So, with Verdis being a very small country and a neutral country, we don't have many, how do I put it? We don't have a large population. So with the amount of citizens that we have, many of them are quite like-minded. And of course, being a neutral country, it allows us to serve as a mediator, sort of like the Vatican, but more of a non-religious version. Basically, Verdis doesn't have any official religion, but the largest religions in Verdis are Catholic and Orthodox Christian. It allows us to, how do I put it? It allows us to basically be a mediator around the world with other countries without any sort of form of political bias. And we don't have any large-scale history that can make us a bit controversial as a mediator. For example, say, for example, Serbia being open to mediating, it's a little bit controversial sometimes. Verdis doesn't have as much history, so that allows us to be open for mediation.
All right. Now, I want to talk about the issue of the land itself. Your claim rests on this idea that the land is legally unclaimed, therefore it can become a micronation. But have any international legal experts formally endorsed this interpretation, or is this really just an untested theory? And, I guess the question would be, are you colonizing this land in a certain sense?
Okay, so when it comes to Verdis's land, it was unclaimed, as you know, because neither Croatia or Serbia wanted the piece of land. Croatia argued that it belonged to Serbia. Serbia argued that it belonged to Croatia, because they were both arguing over a larger piece of land on the other side of the Danube, in effect making it terra nullius, which means no man's land. And under international law, the oldest active claimant to the land is Verdis. Well, because we are, of course, again, the oldest active claimants, and there's no evidence of a previous settlement or anything like that, so we're not colonizing anyone. Most of our citizens are ethnic Serbs and Croats. So by international law, we believe we have the rights to the land, and we have had it backed by quite a lot of sources. There's a lot of media articles around the world at the moment that are covering Verdis, where people and journalists have brought in legal experts to provide their opinion, and in most cases, they do provide support for us.
All right. Well, we only have about 30 seconds left here. You've issued passports, you've accepted citizenship applications. What can people there actually do in practical terms? I know you're not even allowed to really enter at this point.
Of course. So at the moment, we are still working towards international recognition. We just opened an office in Serbia. We opened an office in the UK the other month. In the long term, we expect that there will be more use for, say, for example, Verdis's passports. We are also starting to allow people to register digital businesses in Verdis. There's a lot of benefits that citizens are starting to now obtain, but it does take time, and we expect citizens to be in it for the long run.
All right. Well, I have to say at 21 years old, you're doing a lot right now, man. Thank you so much for joining us.